Now, after forming mankind, what God taught mankind was to know what to do and what not to do. So, my dear friends, we are here to let you know that what God gave to mankind is school and not religion. Now, you might want to ask, I want us to look at it in another angle before we get into the main subject matter. Now, during colonization, the colonial masters came with education, which is originally God's ways of doing things. And in the process of education, our forefathers acquired the education which the colonial masters brought. Now they added this education to the education that they already had from God. And they became wiser and even much more stronger than the colonial masters. And these colonial masters now introduced religion and now used it to subdue our forefathers. Now, even when Christ came, what he brought was teaching. Throughout the life of Jesus, all he did here, his ministry on earth, was to teach us on the ways of God, on the will and of God for mankind, on the purpose why God created us. He taught us, and even all the prophets that came along also, all they did was teaching. They carried out teaching to teach us on the minds of Christ, the purpose of our existence, how to know God, who Jesus is, and all of that. So, I'm here to tell you, we are not here to tell you that you shouldn't belong to any religion. No. But we are here to tell you the fundamentals. And what is that fundamental? The fundamental is that God is more real in the institution of learning. But today our religious leaders have made us to just pass through school for passing sake and come to the house of God to pray and seek God's face and ask him for one miracle job or the other. The mind of God and the will of God and his plan for us, which we, through Esiopala ministry, is studying, is for us to be like him. And we can only be like him through the learning process and not through doctrines. And that is why today God wants us to know the functionalities of the brain and that of the mind. Now, first and foremost, we would love to know what the definition of the brain is, just as our tradition is in Esiopala ministry. We would love to know what the brain is. Now, the brain is the organ in humans and animals that's responsible for thought processes. Now, the plural form brains refers to intelligence, or a person who is the smartest member of a group. Now, the word brain has several other senses as a noun and few as a verb. Your brain is simply a squishy organ that is located inside your head and is protected by your skull. I'm sure that makes sense. The brain is highly complex. It is the seat of all your conscious thoughts and unconscious impulses. The things you do knowingly and unknowingly, they are being controlled by your brain. The way you talk, the way you move your body, the way you speak, the way you even breathe without thinking. You cannot just wake up and say, okay, let me think of breathing today. Your brain already knows you're supposed to breathe. So it's not something for you to sit down and start thinking is, okay, I need to start breathing. It just happens. So, dear friends, this is the definition of the brain, just as I have just explained to us. So now the brain is what propels us to be active. It is what makes us to be able to do a lot of things at the same time. And oftentimes we thought that it was actually the mind or the heart. All these things work in accordance with the brain. The brain is like the powerhouse that controls these other things. That's our heart and our mind. Our heart cannot work on its own, neither can our mind work on its own without the brain propelling it. It's like a force that pushes it into doing what it's supposed to do at every given time. It makes it to be very, very active.